So I went for a contract analytics position with an official Microsoft service provider. They're an American company with an office in Sydney. Anyway, the HR dude says, "So do you have any certs?" And I said, "Yeah, I've got the Power BI cert." He said, "That's great, but do you have the Azure cert? Do you have any Azure certs as well?" I said, "No, why do I need those? I've got 5 years experience in Azure." And he said, "Well, we're an official Microsoft partner and we need a certain amount of people with Microsoft certs on our team." And he asked me if I could go and do some Azure certs. And I said, "Yeah, no problem." So here we are, my friends, doing Azure certs. Alright guys, before we get started, here is a completely free PDF with my test preparation questions. So just go to the description and download it. There's a lot of questions here, and I've got all of the answers at the bottom. So you just go to the bottom and all of the answers to all of the questions are here. So the best way to do it is you just go through all the questions, mark down how many you get right, and then at the end, study the ones that you're getting wrong. All right, that's your problem areas. All right, so we're on my LinkedIn. So you can see here that I've successfully passed the AZ-900 Azure exam. I've put it up there a couple of days ago. You can see I've already got 15 likes for it. Make sure you always put all of your accomplishments on LinkedIn because recruiters and HR teams are going to see it and you just never know who's going to contact you. I get people contacting me all the time. So always put it up. By the way, one other thing, Microsoft don't use Credly anymore. Credly was the company that you used to use to get your certification badge. See this badge here? Now, I'll just show you. You go, this is the Microsoft documentation. It says here what's happening with Credly. So Microsoft have finished the relationship with them as of literally a few weeks ago, June 30, 2023. So forget about Credly. You just go to Microsoft Learn and they have a section there where you can click on the badge and share the badge that way. All right. So you just go through Microsoft Learn. All right. Let's look at my stats and how I passed this exam. All right. Here's my study stats. So before I sat the exam, I've been using Azure for about 5 years, but really just on and off with some big breaks in between and just basic stuff, just setting up resources and just using it a lot of the time for my own personal use. I did have a website on it at one stage. So amount of time I studied, I spent 9 days and I averaged about 3 hours per day. And the score I got was 952 out of 1,000. So I think in hindsight, it was probably overkill. I probably could have done it in 4 or 5 days easily and still passed. I may not have got 952. I may have got like 800 or something. So I'm happy. I did 9 days. I did learn a few things on the way. All right. So that's how I studied. Now, what did I actually study? So I did 2 free, really, really good YouTube courses. By the way, I don't know these guys, so this is not a plug or anything. So I did John Seville's AZ-900 cert course. That's about 10 hours long. It's a big one. It's fairly new, so he made it last year. So everything in there I think is pretty much up to date. And the other one I did was Adam Marzak's. That's about 8 hours long. I didn't actually do all of that. I probably did 3/4 of it. Some of the modules are just too basic, so I didn't do them. One thing you have to remember is that one was made in 2020, so it's getting quite old. But having said that, you can't go wrong doing it because it is really a well put together course. Just to look at these courses. So here's the first one. Very good. Literally done all of them. So yeah, you can see there's 62 videos. It's a massive one. I watched the whole thing on either 120% or 150% speed. So I went through it quite quickly. And here is the other one. You see here, I didn't do all of them, but you can see the red line. I did many of them. And it's a very, very well put together course. Again, the only downside is that it's 3 years old. Now, the other thing I did was I did the Measure Up test prep. Here it is here. So have a look at that. That's up to you. You do need to do test prep questions. Please download the test prep. I already told you. Another thing, the first time I did the test prep, I got about 75%. So I did the test prep first with no study and got 75%. So I probably would have scraped through if I just didn't study at all and just sat the exam. But again, after doing it a second time, I got 100% in the test prep. So, and as you know, I ended up getting 952 out of 1,000. So yeah, you want to make sure you pass because you don't want to waste your time or your money. Better off to spend a few more days preparing. All right, so what should you actually study? So you have to study the Microsoft objectives, but these topics I've read from other people as well are all through the exam. I got many questions on these topics. So you need to know Azure Monitor, you need to know Azure Advisor, and you need to know the difference between initiatives and policies. It's very simple, really. Initiatives are groups of policies. A policy is just one policy, but still do some reading on that. You'll almost certainly get a question on it. You need to really deeply understand the difference between the IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. For me, the main point is that infrastructure as a service, you have control over the operating system and the virtual machine. That's the main difference. Make sure you just study those. Look at some diagrams to easily remember them. It's pretty straightforward, but I did have several questions on those. And just make sure it's pretty obvious again, the difference between CapEx and OpEx. I got several questions on that, and you should know the difference. Here's Azure Monitor. I'll put these links in the description, so please read through them. Azure Monitor, Azure Advisor, and here's the difference between initiatives and policies. So read through all of that. Okay, my friends, that's really it for the rundown. If you follow that workflow, then you're almost certainly going to pass. Just prepare properly. There's no point in rushing it, because if you fail, then you're not going to feel good about it, are you? You're better off just waiting until you're getting almost 100% in whatever test prep you're doing. And when you're getting 100%, then go and sit the exam. And I believe that's the best way to go through it. So to just finish the story, I just emailed the HR dude and he's replied to me straight away. And yeah, he's happy. Looks like we're all systems go. Good luck.